Welcome to Storytime with Karen and Kevin. I'm your host, Karen Monroe. Today, we're going to be reading from the subreddit r/nuclear revenge. But before we get started, we have a couple of updates. Kevin and I have gone on a world adventure. You can follow along on our Instagram. The link will be in the description. And we're almost at 300 subscribers on YouTube. When we hit that goal, we will be giving away a $20 Amazon gift card. To enter, just subscribe and leave a comment on our video. And now, on to the story. This story was posted by Nika Markey 99. I found out my sister has been screwing my boyfriend behind my back. I get even. Little backstory first. I was born into a broken family. My father was a drug addict. My mother, on the other hand, was the kindest, strongest woman I know. Fortunately, they separated just after the birth of my younger sister, who is only younger than me by a year. I took after my mother. My sister, though, apart from my mother's looks, she got everything else from my dad. Now the thing is, my father was a horrible person, even before he became a drug addict. He was an arrogant, selfish, insufferable person. And not only that, he also cheated on my mother multiple times while she was pregnant with me and my sister. And he also physically abused her. He was so horrible to the point that when he left, my mother said that it was the happiest day of her life. She continued raising us, all by herself, while my dad went to God knows where. And you know what? I've never even missed him. 18 years later, me and my sister are all grown up, and the thing is, we've never really been that close. We fought a lot when we were younger, but it was all the usual sibling fights. As we grew, we fought less, and we were able to coexist like all siblings do. And though I didn't express it all the time, I did love her. Here's where it all goes to crap. In my senior year of high school, I started dating one of my classmates. He had just transferred during that year and said that he liked me immediately, and he asked me to go out with him if I was interested. I gave the guy a chance. It goes extremely well, and just 2 months later, we were officially dating. He was sweet. He would take me to lunch, take me to places, and he was just a great boyfriend overall. We continued to date through our first and second year of college, and he comes over at our house pretty frequently. My mom even lets him stay the night. It came to the point that he would come there even when I wasn't, and I thought nothing of it. I was even glad that he felt so comfortable there. Until one day, just a month before our anniversary, I texted him that I would be home later than usual because I still had something to do at school, and I was already at my third year and I was busier than I was before. Since we usually go home together, he asked me what time do I think I'll be home, and I said probably after dinner, so he can pick me up then. He says okay. Fortunately though, I managed to finish earlier than I thought, and instead of texting him to come pick me up, I decided to surprise him by coming to his house, since it's been a while since we spent time together, and I missed him. When I got there, his sister, whom I was very close with, was visibly confused and immediately asked me what I was doing there. I told her that I was there to see her brother, and she becomes even more confused, and she says, "He told me he was coming to your house to see you, though? He left hours ago." This time, I'm the one who's confused, and so I quickly turned around and went home. Thankfully, our houses were only 15 minutes apart from each other, so I got there quickly. The next 20 minutes were like hell. I come home to find his bike outside. The house was dark, and I tried my best to go inside as quietly as I could. By the time I got up the stairs, I hear it. The male sounded particularly like my boyfriend. Tears immediately flooded my eyes. I didn't even need to see to know it was him. My boyfriend of almost 3 years, screwing my sister. My feet suddenly had a mind of their own, and I yanked the door open. I was seething at this point. She was on him like a mechanical bull. I stood there as my now ex pushes her off of him, shocked as he puts his clothes back on in light speed and starts spewing excuses. I wasn't listening at all. I was sobbing so much I couldn't breathe. The jerk follows me all the way downstairs, and I yell at him that if he doesn't leave that instant, I would tell his entire family. He left, and I was left with my sister. I couldn't even look at her. I stayed downstairs, calming myself down until my mom came home from work. She immediately noticed something is wrong, but I don't tell her yet. Dinner starts, and I felt like crying again. And you know what's even worse? When my sister came down and sat just across from me, I saw no hint of remorse or guilt on her face. Absolutely none. I felt sick. I wanted to throw up. And I swear that at some point during dinner, the evil witch even smirked. A week goes by and I don't say anything. I was so hurt. My ex wasn't saying anything either. No phone calls, texts, nothing. And so did my sister. Not a single apology. I felt so defeated. I was crying multiple times a day. I couldn't even focus at school. One day, I finally snapped, and I told my mother everything. She was extremely disappointed. She scolds my sister, but she didn't even seem to care. And then I suddenly remembered. My ex had told me his passwords. He had told me very early in our relationship. And I never bothered to open them because I was never the kind to go through my significant other's messages. I trusted him, and this is what I get. Anyway, I managed to open his Messenger account, and there I see hundreds of messages between him and my sister. I felt weak in the knees. It had been going on for almost 4 months then. I took screenshots. It turns out they had been going out while I was at school. All 3 of us were from different schools. My sister couldn't get into mine because her grades were too low, and so were my boyfriends. My pain quickly turned into anger, and I wanted nothing more than to make them both pay. I couldn't stomach the sight of my sister. The fact that she would go behind my back like that over some guy made me sick. We were supposed to always be there for each other. After a month, I asked my mother if I can move out and live with my aunt for a while, because I just couldn't take it anymore. She was sad, but she understood. I felt sorry for her. She had held my sister accountable for what she did, but at the end of the day, she was still her daughter, so she can't completely turn her back on her. I didn't want to give her the burden of having to choose, so I did instead. I moved out, and now I live with my aunt, and I promised to keep in touch. The next 6 months were basically me putting my life back together. I became a working student and did some freelance work to earn some money. And as I started to earn more, I dropped out of school completely and became a full-time freelancer. As the months went by, I would earn more and more, and I had more than enough money to spend for myself. And from then on, I started to send money to my mom monthly. One day, I got curious and decided to check on my sister and ex. When I unblocked them, I regretted it instantly. The jerks were still together, and my sister was even flaunting their relationship on Instagram. Suddenly, it's as if no time has passed at all, and I was angry yet again. I scrolled through more pictures, and it was obvious that my sister was completely in love with him. I acted on anger. I sent the screenshots I took from before, and sent it to our cousins and told them everything. They all ended up hating her. And then I sent it to my ex's sister, and also told her everything. She punched him and tells their parents, and a day later, I receive a text from them apologizing on behalf of their son. It made me feel slightly better. A week later, my mom asked me to come home to spend the weekend with her. I decided to say yes this time. I stopped by a mall on the way to get a gift for my mom, and guess who I see? My ex-boyfriend with a girl who wasn't my sister, holding hands. I laughed hard. The urge to take out my phone to take a picture and send it to my sister was so strong, but I stopped myself. It wouldn't be painful enough. So I hide where he can't see me, and I followed them. After about an hour, she goes to the bathroom. I follow her there. I approach her when she comes out of the cubicle and say, "Is the guy you're with your boyfriend?" She looked a little bit scared and confused, but she answers yes, nonetheless. I quickly tell her that the same guy is currently dating my sister, and even showed her some pictures. The girl was completely horrified. She said that she had no idea he was seeing someone else, and I fought the urge to laugh. I tell her to get rid of him quickly, and I'll tell her everything she needed to know, but also asked her not to dump him yet. So she makes up some excuse to him about an emergency at home, and they go their separate ways for the day. We meet up at a coffee shop close to the mall afterwards. There, I spill everything, including all the details about the cheating. When I finished, she looked so mad, almost as if it had happened to her. And then she goes on to reveal that a longtime boyfriend of hers actually cheated on her as well. We talked some more, and as time passed, I came to discover that the girl was actually really sweet, and I felt sorry she became a victim of my ex as well. She asked me if I was going to get revenge, and I said yes, but I needed her help. But I also told her that she could say no if she didn't want to, but she said she wanted to help, so I told her my plan, and she was all for it. I came home that night excited. My mom seemed pleased, and my sister looked a little pissed. I didn't care though, since I had the knowledge that my ex-boyfriend, the guy she destroyed our relationship for, was on his way to destroy her. The girl and I talked for the next 3 weeks I was there, and she would send me screenshots of her and my ex's conversation, and also pics of them together. We continued to talk even after I came back to my aunt's house, and exactly 2 months after we met, the plan was finally in action. It was a week before my ex and my sister's anniversary. Yes, they had an anniversary. And I was about to give her the greatest gift. By that time, my ex had confessed to the other girl about his relationship with my sister, but she told him that it was okay, and that they could still be together because she didn't care. Little did he know, her and I were basically best friends now, and had come up with a master plan to ruin his life. I come home again and spent the week there leading up to their anniversary. It was the longest week of my life. The day finally comes, and after my sister leaves to go to his house, I waited a few hours. Then I FaceTime his sister to ask if the two jerks were home. She says yes. Then I sent it. Dozens of pictures of my ex with the other girl, and screenshots of their conversations. Ones where he was telling her how much he loves her and how he's planning to leave my sister for her soon. There was one where he even expressed how annoying he found her and that he sometimes wants to strangle her. A whole bunch of other screenshots where he insults her, calls her stupid, desperate, and so much more. He also said that she was awful in bed and she was way too noisy and that he barely touched her the past few days. Ouch. But it wasn't enough for me. The final touch was a 3-minute long video of my friend and my ex doing the dirty. Yes, she gave me her consent to send it. I cropped it so her face wasn't shown, but my ex's was in full view. It was hilarious. The jerk was enjoying it so much, and I know my sister would probably have a seizure if she watched it. Afterwards, I wait. I was still on FaceTime with his sister, and after a while, I heard it. Screaming, objects being thrown, and more screaming. His sister comes upstairs to check on them, and I heard everything. My sister was sobbing, and what's even more effed up is that my ex didn't even try to deny any of it, and asked her to just leave. Her sister and I talk some more, and she tells me how she's never liked my sister, and neither did their parents. They said that they would ignore her whenever she would come by at their house. She would even ask about me sometimes, just to make her mad. After about an hour, my sister finally comes home, and I sat there grinning like a devil as she steps into the living room, face puffy from crying. We make eye contact, and I smirked at her and said, "You deserve it," before going upstairs. I didn't speak to her again for days. She refused to even leave her room. The satisfaction I felt was through the roof, and I even told my mom that I could move back in now. But it didn't end there, because my ex had gotten my sister pregnant. A huge part of me wasn't shocked, but my mom, of course, was disappointed. We had to tell the rest of our family, and they were all disappointed with her as well. Before she gave birth, my sister told my mom she was gonna move in with my ex's family since they have to take care of their baby, and my mom refused to let him step foot in our house again. But since our houses were really close to each other, she agreed. It was pathetic. It was obvious that she still wanted to be with him, even after everything he did, but hey, it wasn't my problem anymore. But according to my ex's sister though, her parents weren't too happy about the whole thing. And although my ex said he would take responsibility for his child, he didn't want anything to do with my sister anymore. What an effing jerk. So I continued to live my life, working, going out and focusing on becoming even better. It didn't take long for me to finally be happy again, and all the pain and betrayal felt like a distant memory. I reconnected with my old friends and even started dating again. I also kept in touch with the girl who helped me with my revenge. She, of course, had dumped my ex, broke up with him just the day after it all went down. And we're genuinely good friends now and meet when we can. I don't keep in touch with my sister at all. But according to my ex's sister, she's absolutely miserable because she had to drop out of school and my ex barely spoke to her and would always be gone, sometimes for days, and even brought home girls on multiple occasions. He also wasn't there when she gave birth. I didn't feel sorry for her at all since she chose to stay with him, but I did feel sorry for the kid having those two jerks as his parents. They would go to our house at least 3 times a week to see my mother, and my sister would completely ignore my existence. Guess what? That witch still hasn't apologized. I didn't really care at that point, so I ignored it. But one time, I kindly offered to buy her baby some clothes, and she fixed me with the nastiest look before saying, "We don't need your effing money." I was appalled, and then I was so mad again. Alright then, if that's how she wanted to play. Funnily enough, I ran into my ex at a bar just a couple of days later. He looks effing terrible, and I question what I even saw in him. He sees me and actually looks happy. I, on the other hand, no longer felt anything for him, only disgust. He tries to make a conversation, telling me I looked great, and even apologizes. I was shocked, but his apology didn't really mean anything to me anymore. Later that night, I received a bunch of messages from him. He was apologizing again, and then went on to say how much he regrets cheating on me before begging for another chance, and he swears that this time, things would be different, and that he was going to change for me. I laughed so hard I fell off my bed. The ocean would dry up before I'll even think about taking him back. But since my sister pissed me off once again, and I was feeling a little petty, I sent her the screenshots of those messages with the caption, "This your baby daddy?" I knew she was still in love with him, even after everything. And I knew that it would hurt her to see how he's willing to change for me, but not for her, the mother of his child. He barely even gave her money for their child. It was only the ex's parents and my mom who supported her financially. She blocked me. LMFAO. And no, I don't ever take my ex back. Last I heard, he started doing drugs. Fast forward to now. I continue to thrive while she continues to be miserable. We recently had a family reunion, and at one point she says to our relatives that she's having a hard time, and one of our cousins looks her dead in the eyes and says, "Well, maybe if you hadn't screwed your sister's boyfriend, you wouldn't be in this position." She was absolutely dumbfounded, and there were tears in her eyes, and I almost choked on my wine to keep from laughing. She probably didn't think they knew. Well, now she does, and they all didn't bother to hide how much they despised her. She had no one on her side and was considered the disappointment of the family, but she only has herself to blame. Most of us can only dream that we get a type of revenge as crazy as this one. So this is amazing to hear. Some people down in the comments were saying they might feel sorry for her if she, showed any remorse. But she literally showed zero remorse or accountability. So she kind of got what she deserved. I couldn't agree more. This story is crazy, and OP says every single part of it's true. So, I don't know. It kind of makes me happy inside. Does that make me a bad person? That's all for today. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. If you like what we do and you want to support us, you can become a donor on Anchor FM. You can also follow us on our social media accounts. All of the links will be posted in the description. See you next time. Bye.